What is going on, everyone? My name is Joe Ivan, and we are live on 90.3 WESS, East Stroudsburg University, East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. Thank you all for tuning in to the Weekly Cheese, the Pocono's #1 place for everything Green Bay Packer. Just as a reminder, everything you hear on the Weekly Cheese is my opinion, and nothing you hear reflects the views or opinions of 90.3 WESS or East Stroudsburg University. Now let's get into it.
We are Packer fans, proud and strong. Each of us standing tall, all as one. And we love the feeling of being number one. We are Packer fans, proud and strong. We are Packer fans, lose or win. Side by side, filled with pride through thick and thin. And we love the feeling of being number one. We are Packer fans, proud and strong. Green and gold, gifted and bold, our pride showing through all the way. By any test, we give our best to cheer our Packers on to victory. We are Packer fans, proud and strong. Each of us standing tall, all as one. And we love the feeling of being number one. We are Packer fans, proud and strong.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Week 8 edition of the Weekly Cheese, only on 90.3 WESS. I am your host, Joe Ivan. And man, is there just an off feeling in the air, not only with everything going on in our country and the world right now, but more importantly and more specifically, surrounding our Green Bay Packers. Before we get into that great song, We Are the Packer Fans by the one and only Eddie J. Lemberger, the king of Packers music. And we are Packers fans, proud and strong, through wins and losses. That is the message of that song. And after week eight, very, very disappointing loss to the Minnesota Vikings. The Packers fell 28-22, dropping to 5-2 overall, still retaining first place in the NFC North. And it was the first NFC North loss under head coach Matt LaFleur. And it really came down to just a game of bad penalties and just disgusting, disgraceful run defense. And unfortunately, that's a reoccurring issue that I've brought up numerous times on this show, and we will obviously get into it in the defensive half of the show. But 9 penalties for 85 yards, that's rough. It's rough to win any time you give up 9 penalties for 85 yards total. Packers came into this game without David Bakhtiari, Aaron Jones, Kevin King, and obviously Lazard and Kirksey are still out. But that shouldn't have been an issue. Honestly, against a team like the 1-6, 1-5 Minnesota Vikings, now 2-5 Minnesota Vikings, the Packers should have been able to rest those guys and still take care of business. Granted, they still could have taken care of business. The game was not out of reach, even towards the very end. In fact, if that pass interference penalty on the Vikings didn't get picked up, I do believe the Packers would have snuck away with a very close victory. But still, close victory, loss, shouldn't feel good. even if we beat the Vikings, even if the Packers beat the Vikings by 3 points, by 7 points, it would not have been satisfying. So there's a lot to get into going into today's show, especially after today, the trade deadline. A lot of things weighing on my mind, on my soul, on my heart, and a lot of things I need to get off my chest. But first, we will cover this past Sunday's game. Vikings came into Green Bay, 1 p.m. kickoff Eastern Time, and the winds were gusting at Lambeau Field, upwards of 40 miles per hour at some points. Obviously affected the game plans for both of the teams. And, yeah, one team obviously handled the elements a little better than the other. Some notable performances before I get into my copious complaints and grievances. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers, 27 for 41, 291 yards, 3 touchdowns. Great game. Obviously, no issue we're having right now, the Packers are having right now, is due to Aaron Rodgers or his play, and he's consistently bringing it every week, despite that one game earlier this year. But 27 for 41, 291, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions is a great day for any quarterback. And honestly, it could have been better. But Davante Adams, 7 receptions, 53 yards, 3 touchdowns, all 3 of Aaron's passes in the end zone going to Davante. Kind of a quiet game. 3 touchdowns is still great for you fantasy owners out there, but not the performance I was expecting from Davante, although be it he played great still. Nothing like the Week 1 performance he had against the Vikings. Tonyan, another solid performance from Big Bob Tonyan. Pardon me, Tonyan is his name. Got to get that straight. 5 receptions, 79 yards. Continuing to prove that he is a stud of a tight end and going to be one of the best tight ends in the near future. And Jamal Williams, the Rock, 16 carries for 75 yards, 6 receptions for 26 yards, 101 yards from scrimmage. Another solid performance from the second running back on our squad, and stepping up to the plate with Aaron Jones being out the past couple weeks. Can't complain about Jamal Williams' performance whatsoever. And honestly, A.J. Dillon played pretty decent. He had a lot of touches in the first half, was productive. Nothing to worry about there with our running backs. And the last notable performance, sort of notable performance of the day, the offensive line. Overall, okay job, all things considering. Aaron Rodgers was only sacked 1 time. Unfortunately, it was on the Hail Mary play of the game, the final last-ditch effort the Packers had to come away with a victory. History has it there's a good chance someone's coming down with that ball in the end zone. Packers would probably have won. But unfortunately, Rick Wagner let off his block a little too early, sort of gave up on the play, and Aaron was able, he was tackled from behind, ended up fumbling, game over. Devastating end to a very stressful game overall. And although they only sacked him 1 time, Aaron Rodgers was not comfortable in the pocket all day. He was pressured. He was forced to scramble, move up, move back, move out. And nothing came easy. Even on the first 2 drives of the game, only 2 drives of the first half for the Green Bay Packers, when they did manage to move the ball, they did manage to score touchdowns, but it wasn't pretty. It was long, excruciating drives, 2 fourth-down conversions. They ran the ball well and moved the rock slowly, but that wasn't sustainable. In the first drive, 8-minute drive, 13 plays, 75 yards, and a touchdown, consisted of 1 third-down conversion and a fourth-down conversion. Jamal Williams basically just ran the ball methodically, and the Packers were able to drive down the field and score a touchdown, burning 8 minutes off the clock. The Packers then wouldn't get the ball back after a long touchdown drive by the Minnesota Vikings until the beginning of the second quarter. A.J. Dillon came in. He played the entire drive, had some stellar plays. It was a 9-minute drive total, 15 plays, 72 yards, ends in a touchdown by Davante Adams. I do need to highlight A.J. Dillon had a nice screen pass, took it for 15 yards, only to be forced out. Great play. Probably, in my opinion, the play of the game. And things are looking promising for A.J. Dillon. Unfortunately, he was in for that whole snap, for that whole drive. As many of you know, he did come down testing positive for the COVID-19 and put a little wrench in the preparation for this upcoming week against the Niners on Thursday night. Big storyline there. We'll get into it later. And him playing that whole drive just makes me a little more concerned that maybe someone else on the offensive line, anyone in that huddle, God forbid Aaron Rodgers, comes down with the COVID themselves. That would be dire, and I really do not want that to happen. But after those first two drives, the Packers got the ball back one more time in the first half. One play. There was like 18 seconds on the clock. But after those first two drives in the first half, the second two offensive possessions that the Packers had changed the game. Ultimately, I believe, ended the game, made it very hard for the Packers to get back into it, and highlighted some offensive woes that Aaron Rodgers and his greatness have just been able to mask over the beginning part of the year for the most part. But issues that will come back to bite the Packers and haunt this Packers team as the playoffs come about. The first drive out of half, ran the ball on first down, gained 3 yards with Jamal, converted on second down, but a big holding penalty against Mercedes Lewis forces a 2nd and 17. And Aaron, on that very next play, on the 2nd and 17, connects with Robert Tonyan. Deep, 45-yard completion. And momentum was instantly on the Packers' side. It felt as if this game was just getting started. The Packers were going to start moving the ball fast, scoring quick, stopping, and really running away with it, which I guess a lot of people out there expected. It sure seemed that way. Robert Tonyan for that 45-yard bomb, coming down with it. Difficult catch, great throw. But then, the next 4 plays, the Packers would turn it over on downs. 2 drops in a row to Tyler Ervin, one coming on that little push pass that Aaron does on the jet sweep. 2 drops by Ervin in a row, and then 2 drops by Equiminius St. Brown in a row. The one on third down was, it was a difficult catch. It was in traffic, but Aaron roped that ball right into EQ's hands. It hit him right in his palms, and he just could not come away with the ball. He actually went down to the ground with it, and much like his rookie season, hits the ground, ball bounces off his chest, incomplete. Packers go for it, 4th and 10. Aaron scrambles out of the pocket. The pocket's collapsing. He manages to get away, and right before taking a hit, he throws the ball back corner of the end zone. To who? Equiminius St. Brown again. Back-to-back, right to EQ. If he's going to make a play and make a name for himself and step up, this is the moment. Another drop. Granted, not an easy catch to make, but one that we have watched as Packer fans wide receivers make throughout the past decade, whether it was James Jones, Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, Greg Jennings, Jermichael Finley. I mean, hell, Kumaro was making crazy grabs last season. EQ could not come down with it. Packers turn it over on downs. The next drive on offense, second drive of the second half, the Packers start driving. MVS catches his only ball of the game. EQ catches his only pass of the game on a big 4th down conversion. But then it was the penalty show. Sloppy football being played by the offensive line. Back-to-back holds by Jenkins and by Mercedes Lewis force a 1st and 30. What happens? The Packers end up punting, and all the momentum that was generated from the Robert Tonyan play sucked right out of the Packers team. Didn't help them that the run defense wasn't doing anything on the other side of the ball. I even said at halftime to my cousin that I genuinely believe this game cannot be score for score. The defense just is not showing that it will win a score-for-score game against this mediocre, horrible Minnesota Vikings team. Second week in a row where the Packers offense failed to specifically the receivers core failed to step up. Devontae was again the only wide receiver with more than one catch. The other catches coming from running backs and tight ends. And it really highlighted the fact that especially with Lazard being out and knowing the Packers, he might not be back until week 11, 12, in my opinion. The Packers are in desperate need of a playmaker at the wide receiver position. It is obvious that MVS specifically, but EQ as well, aren't the players that we hoped they were. EQ really never showed hope, but MVS has showed glimmers and glimmers of hope, flashes of speed, deep ball threat ability, and just playmaking ability, but it piled on so many drops throughout the past 3 years. And this season, it seems as if he's having a difficult time getting open. He just can't get open. He's getting open once or twice a game. He did pick up a pass interference in the end zone on the second drive of the game. But overall, the Packers are just weak at the wide receiver position. And even when Lazard gets back, it would still be nice to have another weapon for Aaron Rodgers to work with. Overall, just a really, really disheartening performance on the offensive side of the ball. Packers failed to score a ton of points. 22 points against the Minnesota Vikings. They weren't even doing much. They were in a cover 2 for the most of the game, just doubling Devontae Adams. I don't know. And after today, with the trade deadline ending, it just seems that things need to change. Obviously, it's not the offensive side of the ball. That's the huge issue. The Packers' offense is still performing well. They're still in the top 5 offenses in the NFL statistically. But, man, it would be nice to just get Aaron Rodgers one more weapon to work with going into the later part of this season and a very important playoff run. But the biggest, most drastic disappointment of the day on Sunday was the defense. A flat-out embarrassment. Honestly, it's really hard to even conjure up words to say about the defensive display that was put on the field on Sunday. And I just need to say that it's not anything new. It's the same old story that it has been for many, many years now. The Packers simply cannot stop the run. I don't know if it's a schematic thing. I believe it has something to do with schematics, but more importantly, I do believe it's a personnel problem. Dalvin Cook single-handedly dismantled the Green Bay Packers defense. 30 carries for 163 yards and 3 touchdowns. 2 receptions for 63 yards and a touchdown. His longest career receiving touchdown, it was like a 52-yard screen. He did whatever he wanted. And he's coming off an injury. He wasn't even 100%. And he simply ran through the Packers defense like they were a JV high school team. The Green Bay Packers are allowing 4.6 yards per carry this season, and that places them in the bottom quarter of the NFL. And on Sunday, the Green Bay Packers packed the box with 8 defenders on 19 of the running attempts that the Minnesota Vikings put on, and they gave up 89 yards. They gave up more yards with a stacked box than they did rushing 3 against the Vikings. It really makes no sense. Doesn't help that the pass rush is absolutely non-existent. This is something that I've been noticing over this whole season, really, but mainly over the past couple weeks. The pass rush is not the same as last year. The Packers only pressured Kirk Cousins one time. It was Dean Lowry on a blatant blown assignment. And Kirk Cousins finished the game 11 for 14 with 160 yards and 1 touchdown. He did not attempt to pass over 10 yards. He was efficient. He checked down, and these 6, 7, 8-yard completions that Kirk Cousins was checking down to ended up being 12, 13, 14, and so on. Huge gains up the middle of the field. This season, the Green Bay Packers are last in quarterback pressure rate. Only 17.4% of the time are the Green Bay Packers applying any sort of pressure on opposing teams' quarterbacks. And the Packers are, for some reason, continuing to stay with a 3-man pass rush, especially when they get into the red zone. The Green Bay Packers seem to only rush 3 men on every red zone series. Every time another team gets in the red zone and scoring position, the Green Bay Packers rush 3 and they get eaten alive. This season, the Green Bay Packers have allowed a 100% scoring percentage in the red zone. Teams have been there 23 times. The Packers have given up 17 touchdowns and 6 field goals. These are not good numbers. And especially when they're coming against the 1-5 Minnesota Vikings, a team that has no chance of making the playoffs, a team that seemed to have all but given up. Granted, they only care about beating the Green Bay Packers over there. If anyone saw Greg Jennings' comment last week. But still, if the Vikings can decimate the Packers defense, how can we be so confident that the Packers defense is going to have any business being on the field with an offense like Arizona or Seattle or Tampa Bay, for that matter? I mean, we saw what happened there. And it all comes down, in my opinion, to 2 things. The middle linebackers, the middle linebacking and inside linebacking core for the Green Bay Packers is hands down, bar none, the worst in football. And missed tackles in the secondary. The Green Bay Packers secondary consistently this season has shown a history of missing tackles and allowing big gains on what should be potential tackles for loss. Chris Barnes and Kamal Martin on Sunday, the starting 2 inside linebackers for the Green Bay Packers, only had 7 tackles total combined and allowed Dalvin Cook to advance into the 3rd level of the Packers defense whenever he wanted. It seemed like almost on every single play, whether it was a short check down pass or Dalvin Cook just running wherever he wanted, he was able to get to the secondary. And then from there, missed tackle after missed tackle. On Sunday, the Green Bay Packers secondary missed 7 tackles. Amos and Savage had 2 missed tackles apiece. Redmond missed a tackle on Dalvin Cook on a bogus dump on 3rd and long. They just dumped it down to him. Redmond missed a tackle, and Dalvin Cook ended up converting the first down. Kingsley Keke missed Dalvin Cook horribly at the line on his biggest run of the game when he erupted for 37 on, I believe, it might have been their 2nd possession of the game. Josh Jackson missed Thielen. The play right before the disgusting and disgraceful 52-yard touchdown by Dalvin Cook on the screen pass that basically emulated Alvin Kamara's huge screen pass touchdown for 64, whatever it was, in week 3. Josh Jackson missed a tackle on Adam Thielen. Cousins literally snapped the ball, quick pass right to the right sideline, and it was just Josh Jackson, Adam Thielen. Jackson completely whiffed. Thielen ends up going for 12 yards, converting the first down. And then, on the most embarrassing play of the game, the play that sums up the Green Bay Packers defense to a T, that 52-yard screen pass touchdown by Dalvin Cook right up the middle of the field. It began with a whiffed tackle by Chandon Sullivan, followed by many missed tackles and many half-assed pursuits by the Packers defense, and really just confirmed my fears. For the past 3-4 weeks on this show, I have been talking about this underlying fear that I have with the Packers, that nothing has changed, that our run defense is a complete liability, and that the Packers are doomed. That, yeah, we'll beat all the teams we should beat, even though this past weekend the Packers did not beat a team they should beat. But once the Packers get to that big game, they just will not have enough. And that's something that I really fear. Now, it's also, it's also questioning Mike Pettine's job. After last season, I was very, very happy with Mike Pettin and the defense as a whole. I didn't believe getting rid of Martinez and not signing him was going to turn out to be a disastrous decision by the Green Bay Packers. And I was very happy with the way Pettin's defense was. Granted, last season, the Green Bay Packers were the beneficiaries of some insane interceptions, bounces going their way, and they were able to turn teams over at very opportune times. And that's not translating this season. But it also seems to be a personnel thing. Blake Martinez, obviously, did a whole lot more for this defensive unit than Chris Barnes and Kamal Martin can do. Granted, I do believe Kamal Martin has some ability. He looked good in short stretches on Sunday. He had a couple tackles for a loss, I believe, if not one tackle right at the line of scrimmage. And they're not bad players. And if Kamal Martin was the second linebacker on the team and we had Chris Barnes coming in as a reserve guy, I would feel much better. But they are the guys in charge of calling the entire defense. And it really scares me. And Pettin's job is being called for. Today I read an article titled "The People versus Mike Pettin," and it was a scathing review of the man. And I do fear that if this Thursday against the San Francisco 49ers, the same team that rushed for over 220 yards on the ground against the Packers in the NFC Championship game and laid a wallop on the Green Bay Packers twice last season, if Mike Pettin doesn't have the defense tuned in and ready to go against a completely injured and broken down, dilapidated San Francisco 49ers team, Mike Pettin might be out of here. He might be gone. And I don't think he deserves all the blame. I personally don't. I will get into who I do believe deserves all the blame right after the break. Just one more note about this Packers defense on Sunday and this season, just to put into perspective how abysmal they have been performing. The Vikings on Sunday gained 121 yards after contact and 132 yards after the catch. And this season, through 7 games, the Green Bay Packers have missed a total of 63 missed tackles. They've missed 63 tackles through 7 games and have had 3 games this season with 10 or more missed tackles. Sunday against the Vikings, against Tampa Bay, and against the Atlanta Falcons. So a lot needs to be tidied up going into San Francisco. Short turnaround, COVID affecting the locker room, and a whole lot of questions to be answered come Thursday night. We're going to tune to a quick break, and when we come back, it's the moment I've been waiting for. This week's Staccato of the Week, the man I believe whose job should truly be brought into question, and a man whose motives I wholeheartedly question, and I'm very skeptical of. This is the Weekly Cheese on 90.3 WESS. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I like my wife, she's okay. And for my kids, I'm thankful almost every day. I like my family, it's so dear to me. But I love the Green Bay Packers. I like my job, I like my friends. I like to drink a couple beers now and then. the greatest days, but I love the Green Bay Packers. I love the green and gold in autumn sun and winter's cold. So let's all sing, young and old. We all love the green and gold. I like my life, it's been good. I like my neighbors, I like my neighborhood. And I like being here today with all of you. Like I said before, I like to raise a few. But there's just one thing that forever will be true. I love the Green Bay Packers. We love the green and gold in autumn sun and winter's cold. So let's all sing, young and old. We all love the green and gold. We love the green and gold in autumn sun and winter's cold. So let's all sing, young and old. We all love the green and gold. We all love the green and gold. We all love the green and
Get her done, Pack!
Aaron Rodgers with the wrist. Eddie Lacy with the truck stick. Clint Dix with the picks. Quick to pick the quarterback and get the upset. We got the NFC North sick. We got the NFC North lit. Face of the North in the North face. Winning if they need to score check. Stay on their radar. Big 52, we got Clay on their radar. They making plans of the playoffs. They know we gon' take off. They seeing Green Bay on their radar. They talking offense and defense. They know that we decent. They play us. They better watch y'all. Number 18 on the bench when he come back is Liddy again. He gon' play like he hate y'all. Never sleeping, we a title tap. Ain't the secret, this Pack City. Mike McCarthy with the play call when we touch down. That's a Rack City. Old line on the goal line. Out route so the backs get it. Linebacks better slide down when we drive down back to back winning. We win again, yeah. They counted us out, now we lead the division again. At the top of the round, 17 and Jody with the hands. AR-12 split the divas, you know that we winning again. AR-12 split the divas, you know that we winning again. They don't want to see the squad, they just watch us beat the lines. They don't want to see us blitz the number 52 and hit you from the side. Winning again, we got the division again. Winning again, they know that we got the division again.
Got them NFC North fans mad at Cheeseheads winning. We winning. Mid-season, we was near the bottom, now we leading our division. Yeah, them boys back up on the mission. Yeah, just know that we coming for everything. The city lit, Clinton Dix with 2 picks in the Bears game. High 87 lead the league with no pro post. Frozen tundra where it's so cold. Blitz Rodgers, that's a no-no. Run the table, yeah, you know we did it. Postseason, know we coming with it. Better yet, we coming for it. Charged up, no Melvin Gordon. All-time leading scorer. Mason Crosby with the field goals. Bandwagons, we don't feel those. We marching on them, no steel toes. Got division on lock. We on top, no cellmate. I'm somewhere by Lambeau, and I'm with the skulls at the tailgate.
And we are back to the Weekly Cheese here on 90.3 WESS, East Stroudsburg University, East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, the Pocono's #1 place for everything Green Bay Packer. The 2 songs you just listened to right there were I Love the Green and Gold by Pat McCurdy and Run the Table by the Wisco Kids. Now it's time, the moment everyone listening, I believe, has been waiting for, and that is this week's Staccato of the Week. And unfortunately, this week's Staccato of the Week is none other than Green Bay Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst, Goot, and his massive ego. So, as many of the Packer fans out there should know, and if you don't, get with it. Today was the trade deadline for the NFL. And the Green Bay Packers, once again, failed to make a move at the trade deadline. Most years, I don't even bat an eye when this goes down. I understand that the Packers value their system of drafting and developing and not really making splashes when it comes to trades and free agency. I'm aware of that, although some of the most influential pieces in Packer history have come from free agency moves, and I do wish the Packers would change their mindset towards it a little bit more. I typically tend to lean with the side of the Green Bay Packers and trust the farming process that they have. But not today. Today, the Green Bay Packers failed to trade for a weapon for Aaron Rodgers. I know a lot of people would have liked to see a defensive piece added. I, too, do think we need many defensive pieces. The Packers need many defensive pieces, obviously. But in terms of a move that would be perfect for right now, it would be getting Aaron Rodgers a weapon. Obviously, trade rumors surrounding the Packers trading for Will Fuller have been circulating for the past week. I was really hoping Will Fuller would be a Green Bay Packer by 4 p.m. today. Very disappointed he wasn't. I also thought, okay, maybe Will Fuller, because the Texans were asking for a second-round pick for Will Fuller, which I do believe, especially with what we're about to get into, a second-round pick is worth giving up for Will Fuller, especially right now. But even moving for Randall Cobb, Golden Tate, although they're older, doesn't matter. It's not about who was on the other end of who was being made, the move was being made for. Quite simply, I just believe making a move to show Aaron Rodgers that we care about, that the Packers care about winning right now with him. Something to show him that the organization is trying and want to get him pieces. But unfortunately, Goot once again proved he is not willing to do what it takes to win right now. Today, before 4 o'clock in Aaron's press conference with the media, he was asked a question about whether or not he has had conversations with Brian Gutekunst surrounding the whole trading going on, the trade deadline going on right now. And if Aaron has basically not even tried to go out and be negative with him, just kind of say, dude, what's up? That was the gist of the question. If Aaron had a chance to talk to Gutekunst. And I'm not going to paraphrase what Aaron said. I'm just going to let all you listeners out there hear for yourself what Aaron Rodgers had to say and see if it makes you hurt to the core as much as it makes me hurt in my core. All right? So here's what Aaron Rodgers had to say surrounding the trade deadline and the question of if he has had a conversation with Brian Gutekunst about the trade deadline.
Bill, I'm not going to get into those conversations. Again, I'm just going to reiterate what I've said and continue to say is that I clearly understand my role and my place on this team, and that's my focus.
All right. Yeah. He doesn't want to get into specifics of the conversation. Obviously, he had a conversation. And he said he is very clear on what his role in this on this team and in this organization is, and that is what he will focus on. Hearing that earlier today, not literally, it felt as if my heart got ripped out of my chest. Because read between the lines. Aaron Rodgers, over the past 6 months, has had many comments about this, about his role in the organization, embracing his role, and all this stuff. And every time he's made a comment about it, I've always tried not to read in between the lines and just hope that I was being a paranoid, anxious mess. But after hearing Aaron Rodgers today in that tone, and just, you heard it, he didn't sound happy. He sounded like he was told, which I hope he wasn't told, but it sounds like basically Goot told him, piss off and play. That's what it sounded like. It sounded like Goot didn't have any interest in hearing what Aaron Rodgers had to say. And it's becoming very glaring to me. And I hate to say this, but it just seems like to me that Goot is just waiting for the day that he could just get rid of the Aaron Rodgers contract and offload Aaron Rodgers and stop living in the shadow of Ron Wolf, the great Ron Wolf, and Ted Thompson back then. And he, we know how he regressed, but he wants to obviously make a team with his guys. His guys. Jamon Moore, his guys, yeah. Goot obviously has no intention of winning right now, and it makes me sick. He has been showing us, it's been a slow progression. Brian Gutekunst has been showing us his true intentions all along. Since he received the job in 2018, Brian Gutekunst has slowly and somewhat strategically been showing us Packer fans, us cheeseheads, Packer Nation, he's been showing us his intentions all along. He does not care about winning right now. If it happens, great. If Aaron Rodgers is so brilliant that he could, with this mediocre receiving core and Swiss cheese defense, if Aaron Rodgers can do it, good for the Packers. But if not, it seems as if Goot could not care less, and he is just focused on life after Aaron. And it literally, it sickens me. There's no other word for it. It makes me feel ill to my stomach. I get stomach aches and chest pains when I think about just what is going on. And let me give everyone out there listening a rundown and sort of a rundown of basically every decision Brian Gutekunst has made as far as draft, free agency, obviously not many notable trades whatsoever, but just his decisions as far as personnel goes since taking over for Ted Thompson in 2018. First, and the moment I stopped trusting him, genuinely, the moment my trust was gone and my skepticism of Goot started creeping in, his first order of business, unbeknownst to anyone around Packer Nation, I'm sure anyone in that locker room, was to not sign Jordy Nelson. And that right there is evidence number one, and just the first sign that Goot had no intention of keeping Aaron happy, of making a team that Aaron Rodgers wants and a team that Aaron Rodgers feels will be most productive for him. And just basically, this is the moment when Goot started making him unhappy. Jordy Nelson. He decides not to sign Jordy Nelson, although Jordy came out publicly at the time and said he was willing to take a pay cut and take a team-friendly deal. Jordy makes more money than he would have with the Packers. He goes to the Raiders, and Goot signs Jimmy Graham with the money that should have been in Jordy Nelson's pocket. And would you look at that? Jimmy Graham is not even on our team in 2020. That year, shortly after not signing Jordy Nelson, I have to say he's my favorite He's my favorite football player of all time, Jordy Nelson, so I do have extreme bias there. But right after not signing Jordy Nelson, Goot gets his chance to take his swing at the NFL draft for the very first time as a general manager. And his first pick, give it to him, he hit. But it was a no-brainer. He drafted Jair Alexander. Obviously, Jair Alexander was going to be a stud in the NFL. And if he didn't draft Jair Alexander at that point, especially with the way the Packers secondary was back in 2018, there would have been major issues. No knock there. But after Jair Alexander, in the 2018 draft, the picks go as follow. Josh Jackson in the second round. In the third round, the Packers trade up for Oren Burks. Fourth round, Goot drafts Jamon Moore, a wide receiver who got cut this season. Never played any significant role on the Green Bay Packers. Then in the fifth round, drafted a tackle, Cole Madison, also cut this year. We got J.K. Scott in the sixth round, decent pick, punter. Followed by MVS and Equiminius St. Brown and James Looney. James Looney also cut this year. 3 of the 7 picks from that draft no longer are on the Packers. Josh Jackson is disappointing, and let's be honest, he's not good. And Oren Burks might be the worst linebacker I've ever watched play in the NFL. Obviously, MVS and EQ are the guys out there dropping balls for us as we speak. That was his 2018 draft. 2 hits. Jair, JK. JK's a punter. Jair was a no-brainer. Josh Jackson, Oren Burks, Jamon Moore, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Equiminius St. Brown. The following year draft, Goot's second attempt. He drafts Rashawn Gary with the 12th overall pick. Rashawn Gary with the 12th overall pick wasn't a good pick back then. I believe it was graded a C-, and it is obviously has not helped the Green Bay Packers defensively whatsoever. He misses tackles, he misses games, and when he's in there, he practically contributes. He contributes the bare minimum. He gets some pressures, doesn't finish them off. Very disappointing with the 12th overall pick in Rashawn Gary, and he is now in his third year, and it's minimal improvement. Then traded up 2 fourth-round picks to the Seahawks to get into the first round again, get Darnell Savage. Verdict is still out on Darnell Savage. He has not made the jump from year 1 to year 2 that I believe everyone out there in Packer Nation expected him to. Verdict is still out. I like Darnell Savage. Then we got Elton Jenkins with the third pick. That's a hit. Give him that one. Following that, Jay Sternberger, Kingsley Keke, Kadar Holman, Dexter Williams, and Ty Summers. Kadar Holman doesn't sniff the field. Sternberger, yet to come into his own. And Keke and Ty Summers are 2 of the culprits for whiffing tackles week in and week out for the Green Bay Packers. 2019 free agency, Goot made some decent moves. He got the Smith brothers, Billy Turner, and Adrian Amos. Obviously, the greatest offseason that Goot will ever have, and the best decisions he has made as a GM. But in that offseason, he failed to re-sign Randall Cobb. It just made no sense. Why cut Randall Cobb? Great chemistry with Aaron, produces every time he's on the field. Packer Nation loves him. He loves the fans, engraved in the community, great locker room leader. No reason to get rid of Randall Cobb other than the fact he's not one of his guys. In that offseason, after not signing Randall Cobb, Dean Lowry received a $20 million extension for 3 years. Goot gave Dean Lowry way too much money, and since he signed that extension, Dean Lowry has done diddly squat. Then after missing the Super Bowl by 1 game in last season, missing by 1 game, losing in the NFC Championship game, in dire need of run defense and a receiving weapon, Goot not only lets Martinez go, which was a good move at the time, obviously was not a good move considering the only replacement for Blake Martinez's production was a broken down Christian Kirksey, who has not played a full season in 3 years and has missed 4 games already this season. And he signed Devin Funchess to be our answer at wide receiver, who opted out before the season due to COVID-19 and will never play a snap as a Green Bay Packer. Okay, all these horrible moves in the offseason. We must be gearing up for an amazing 2020 NFL draft. Am I right, Packer Nation? Wide receivers all over the board. Studly linebackers that the Packers are so in desperate need of. Patrick Queen, Kenneth Murray. Just beasts. Ross Blacklock if we wanted to go D-line. You have Mims. You have T. Higgins. You have Justin Jefferson. You have Brennan Ayuk. You have studs. Chase Claypool got picked in the 2nd round. You have studs on the board. And what do the Green Bay Packers and Brian Gutekunst do? They draft practically an entire offense for the future. Jordan Love, A.J. Dillon, Josiah DeGuara, John Runyon Jr., Hanson Stepanek. They draft 3 late-round offensive linemen, a quarterback, a running back, and a tight end with the first 3 picks, and solidify the fact that Goot has no intention of trying to win right now. He has no intention of trying to work with Aaron Rodgers. He is so caught up in his own ego and his own... He has a false sense of football. He thinks he's a football mastermind. Brian Gutekunst obviously believes that he is a football mastermind who is going to assemble a team that is capable of winning Super Bowls without Aaron Rodgers. The Green Bay Packers have had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks back-to-back, Brian Gutekunst. That rarely ever happens. It never happens. A team never gets 3 in a row. And Jordan Love, it's not even time to be thinking about a quarterback, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of Packer fans out there. And it just sickens me. It sickens me. I've laid it out there. Goot's draft history is poor. Very, very poor, specifically in the 2nd and 3rd rounds. So why not give up 1 pick to give Aaron Rodgers a offensive weapon in Will Fuller, who is a stud coming off of his rookie contract? He has this is his last season on his rookie contract. Why not, at the very least, just as a token of gratitude and a gesture to Aaron Rodgers, to show him that the Packers want to win now with him, and they're committed to doing it. They dropped the ball. Don't trade for Will Fuller. Don't trade for anyone. And it is just blatantly obvious that the Green Bay Packers, Brian Gutekunst specifically, does not care about winning now. We know Matt LaFleur wanted Will Fuller. He coached him in college. We know Matt LaFleur wanted Will Fuller. It was Goot. And for that reason, Goot is the staccato of the week. In my opinion, he is a saboteur, and he is caught up in his ego. He cares too much about winning with his guys and getting full credit for assembly of the team, when what he should care about is being a great general manager and capitalizing on a once-in-a-generation talent that is Aaron Rodgers, and doing everything he can. Like Ron Wolf did. Ron Wolf signed Reggie White, didn't he? Ron Wolf made a big move to help the Packers become a more well-rounded team back in the late 90s, to help Brett Favre get over that hump. Went to 2 Super Bowls. But no, Goot cares more about the spotlight and taking all the credit. And I just want to say that I'm sickened by it. I believe time is up. And Goot, just know, if by slim chance this crosses your ears, by demanding all the credit, you also must take on all the blame. And the decisions you have been shown to be making over the past couple of years it's breaking hearts, man. And it's just very discouraging. A very discouraging day for the Green Bay Packers. And Goot is this staccato of the week. He might be the staccato of the month, and he might be the staccato of the year. And you could only hope a couple of guys fell to free agency. I know a linebacker's out there from the Titans. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. And the 49ers, I believe, dropped a wide receiver. I'm not too sure. There are a couple of pieces that the Packers can look to add to help the offense, help the defense. Let's see if that happens. But yeah, very, very discouraged feeling coming from Brian Gutekunst. And I believe is enough is enough. If Pettine has to go, Goot needs to go with him. That's my take. Sorry if it was a little ranty and passionate, but I needed to get all that off my chest. Because I love Aaron Rodgers and I love the Green Bay Packers, and I genuinely believe the window to win is right now, and we need to worry about now as opposed to worrying about what comes after the Rodgers era. Going into next week, obviously, the Green Bay Packers, Thursday Night Football, going into San Francisco, a place that has not been too kind to Aaron Rodgers or the Green Bay Packers over the years, especially now last season. COVID has infiltrated the Packers locker room. A.J. Dillon tested positive for the virus right after the game against the Vikings, and he's obviously going to miss the game on Thursday. And unfortunately, he's taking some guys with him. Jamal Williams and Kamal Martin also won't be playing in Thursday night's game against the 49ers due to close contact that they had with A.J. Dillon. They're being forced to quarantine, and they will not be active this week, which is a huge problem considering Aaron Jones is not, there's really no word. I believe that he's doubtful to go on Thursday, meaning the Packers are without a starting running back, and they are going to rely on Tyler Ervin to take some snaps running the ball, and Dexter Williams to come off the bench and start running the ball. Dexter Williams, hey, late round draft pick, 6th round draft pick by Goot in his second draft. Maybe Dexter Williams can save Goot's poor draft reputation. It's going to be interesting to see, and it's a good time for someone to step up, especially considering this is not the 49ers team that we went up against last season. They are extremely injured coming into Thursday. Defensively, they will be without 9 players. Notably, they'll be without Nick Bosa, Solomon Thomas, Dee Ford, Richard Sherman, Jaquiski Tart, and Ronald Blair. Big hits to their defense. The defense that wreaked havoc on the Packers in both games last season. And offensively, they're without 10 guys. Notably, their starting quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, best tight end in football, George Kittle, stud wide receiver, Deebo Samuel, the man who rushed single-handedly for 220 yards against the Packers in the NFC Championship game, Raheem Mostert, another stud running back, Telvin Coleman, tight end Jordan Reed, wide receiver Jalen Hurd, and 2 centers. This 49ers team is as injured as they come. They are weak right now, and there's absolutely no reason the Green Bay Packers should lose to the 49ers on Thursday. If they do, it'll be because poor run defense and not enough weapons offensively. Neutralization of Devontae Adams. And now, without Jamal Williams or A.J. Dillon to carry the ball, with Aaron Jones being out, the pass game is going to need to be more electric than it has been all season. Very concerned going into Thursday. I honestly don't even have a prediction. I don't even have a prediction for you guys out there. But what I will say is I'm hopeful that the Packers will take a big gut check. I'm hopeful Mike Pettine won't throw Preston Smith out lining up as a cornerback this week. I will hope that we change up the schematics and start rushing more 4 or 5 man fronts. And I'm just hopeful that the run defense steps up. Kenny Clark said today that he is confident in the D-line and the defensive core as a whole, and that he's very confident that they'll step it up. One more extremely advanced statistic to leave you guys with to hit the road and hopefully instill some sort of hope that Thursday night the Packers will come out looking rejuvenated and ready to go. My friend Chris gave me a really insane advanced stat, and for the past 7 seasons, the Green Bay Packers have played on the weekend following the daylight savings time or whatever happened, the turning of the clocks, and all 7 of those games following the turning of the clocks, the Green Bay Packers have lost. Just food for thought. Maybe the changing of the time really does its toll out there in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And last week was just a one-time thing. Obviously, that's just extreme optimism coming from me. And we'll just have to see. Nothing but good energy going towards the Packers this week. And despite Goot's incompetence, us Packer fans must prevail. Because Goot is going to be gone but the Packer Nation will never be gone. My name is Joe Ivan. Thank you all for listening to this Week 8 edition of The Weekly Cheese. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. You're listening to 90.3 WESS, East Stroudsburg University, East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, the Pocono's #1 place for everything Green Bay Packer. And as always, the cheese stands alone. See you next week, everyone.